Hey gang, Jerry here. In today's video we're going to be pulling the transmission out of our C4 Corvette. This is going to be episode 3 of our C4 project. In the very first episode we kind of went over the vehicle, the goods, the bads and the ugly on the purchase of our C4 Corvette. And one of the bad points was that we knew going into this project that we had issues with the transmission. It's a 700 R4. And we know that it has no third and fourth gear. So we're going to be pulling it today so we can get it out, get it on the bench and get it disassembled to see what's wrong with it. So we'll be going through this video step by step, kind of showing you each, component you have to remove in order to get the transmission out. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the exhaust system and we're going to show you that right now. All right, gang, we're underneath the vehicle here and we're going to start with the exhaust. Just a note, I've already disconnected the negative battery cable on the battery, so whenever you're removing major components and disconnecting electrical connectors, you're going to make sure you always do that first. For the exhaust here, our vehicle does have 160,000 miles, got some rust on the exhaust, so we'll have to see how that goes. But the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to be disconnecting the back end of the exhaust here from the front Y pipe, so we're going to be taking these two bolts off here. We're going to have to be dealing with this air pump pipe, try to get that off the exhaust. Hopefully that is a slip joint right here. Hopefully that'll come off easy. We got different hangers and different clamps here that we'll have to disconnect from the front Y pipe. And that should allow us to get to the point where we can come up to the front here and disconnect the Y pipe from the exhaust manifold. It is held on by three nuts there on some studs. So once we get everything loose, the exhaust should come out of the way and we can get that out and go on to our next step. We have our exhaust out of the way. Now, next thing we're going to be doing is we'll drain the oil. And then after we have the oil drained, we'll start working on the C-brace and the drive shaft. Now, what's unique about this car is it doesn't have a cross member on the back end of the transmission like most cars. It has this C-brace, a C-channel if you want to call it. And it's connected by 2 bolts on the back end of the transmission and then 2 bolts on the front of the rear differential. We'll get that out of the way, get the drive shaft out of the way. We'll have to support the differential and transmission when we're doing that. And then once we get to that point, we'll move on to disconnecting everything on the side of the transmission, torque converter bolts, bell housing bolts, and so on and so forth. So we'll just do these steps right here, and then we'll come right back to you. We got the rear drive shaft out, C-brace out. Next we're going to be disconnecting the linkage, our electrical connector, speed sensor, and electrical connector. On the other side of the transmission, we'll be disconnecting the cooler lines. And then we'll move forward, taking the inspection cover off, starter, torque converter bolts, and then the last thing after that is the bell housing bolts, and the trans will be ready to come down. Almost there. We have pretty much everything disconnected. We got the starter out, dust cover out, torque converter bolts out, cooler lines are off, all the electrical connectors, shift cables off. There was a bolt holding the dipstick tube down. We have that out. And the only thing we have left right now is the bell housing bolt. So we're going to take the bell housing bolts out and trans should be ready to come down. All right, gang, so here it is. We got the transmission out. Not too big of a job, but obviously it makes it a little bit easier if you have a lift. If you're gonna try to do this on the ground, you're gonna have to have your car up in the air, pretty good just to clear the transmission and the jack. So next video we're gonna be doing is taking this transmission apart. Expect to see the 3/4 clutch out of it. So we're gonna be going through it, rebuilding it, putting some aftermarket parts in there that they have updates for the 700 R4. One thing I forgot to mention, I do like to use a ratchet strap when taking the transmission out. It's just a little bit added safety. And one other thing we forgot to mention during the removal is the TV cable, the throttle cable. So make sure that you disconnect that during your removal. I'd like to thank my helper today, Alex from Alex Automotive. He's got a channel for doing automotive stuff. Check out the link in the description down below for his channel. He's a cool kid. And if you liked the video, please hit that thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe. And that's gonna make it wrap up for this one, gang. So remember, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. All right, gang, take care and see ya.